Hey, good morning, Mom. How are you? Welcome to Coffee Chat. Just gonna make sure my microphone's not rubbing. All right, we'll just wait. I'm just gonna wait another minute. Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to early morning Coffee Chat on Fridays. Robert G, good morning. How does it get any better than this? I'm so excited. I get to see some of you guys later today. Good morning, Lori. Hi, guys. All right. Well, for those of you that are watching this in the future and haven't met me yet, my name is Catherine Oster, and I am a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness. This is just a weekly coffee chat where I jump on a Facebook Live and chat about different things that have shown up in my life, how I've used the tools of Access to navigate, change things, have more ease, joy, and glory in my life. So today we're going to chat more about entities. Hey, Tanya, good morning. Today we're going to chat more about entities. That's kind of been the topic of Coffee Chat for the last couple of weeks. I am facilitating my first Talk to the Entities intro and beginning class starting this evening in Meadow Lake. If you have any questions or you want to be a last minute humanoid chooser, you can contact me, message me on Facebook. I'll give you all the details. Or if you know Tanya Fisher, she's the hostess. You could also reach out to her. Anyway, so before, okay, if you guys have watched, you should go back and watch my previous coffee chats where I talk about what entity awareness is for me and how it showed up. I talk about my first kind of experience with an entity, my grandpa. But today I'm going to talk about a different thing where what if there can be more than one being in a body? So I'm going to ask you a question. Truth, are you an infinite being? Do you get a yes or do you get a no? Which one feels lighter to you? Yes or no? And I get a yes. So an infinite being means that you are a being that is infinite, that is not limited to your body or to this lifetime. And so in this lifetime, your infinite being, hey Shauna, good morning. Your infinite being chose this body that you're in right now. Now, I took my first Talk to the Entities class probably back in 2015. And shortly after that class, like a few months after that class, my husband had a surgery. And when he came home from his surgery, he was different. He was not the same person. It was really weird. Like his body was the same. It was a little bit different from the surgery, but his body was the same. He looked the same, but his temperament was different. He reacted differently to things. It was so interesting. And it kind of put me off a little bit. I was kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? And like you read stuff on the internet or articles about how people have, after they've had a surgery, it's mentally hard and they might be depressed, etc. But I remembered my Talk to the Entities beginning class and I went back to my manual. I started asking questions like, what is going on with him here? And I went back to my manual and what showed up, like what popped for me out of my manual was the topic of walk-ins. So I read that information again in the manual, refreshed my memory about it, and I asked a question. I was like, Truth, is there another being in Travis's body, my husband? And it was a big fat yes. And I'm like, holy crap, that is what is different about him right now. Wow. Okay. Now, not to make it significant or anything, entities are not significant, but this is just really good information for you to have for yourself, and when you're dealing with other people, and when people that have known for a long time, may have gone through a big shift or a change. So when the body is under anesthetic, when it is maybe unconscious, like if it's been knocked unconscious, had a concussion, those are some events that will allow or invite another being to walk into the body. So there can be more than one bus driver in the bus. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Now, in the beginning, in the entities class, you learn how to clear entities and how to communicate with them. And I just started running the entity clearing energetically. So I did not have a verbal conversation with my husband. I just got the sense that that was not going to create more. I just kept acknowledging that when that other entity would show up, that it wasn't him. And I would ask for Travis, the being that I knew, to show up and get present, and then I would run the entity clearing. Now, it took a couple of days, I want to say maybe even up to a week, for it to shift, but eventually he started getting back to normal. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. If I did not have that information, I wonder what else would have shown. Like I was so grateful for having the class, having the information. And I actually did have a conversation with him about this. It was even up to a year after this had happened. I was like, do you remember you were different after surgery? And he's like, well, I did. And he didn't really remember, actually, which is common because he wasn't really present. The other being was. Anyway, it's just information for you to have. When you're talking to somebody or you're dealing with somebody, and this is not like an abnormal thing, like it can be quite common for more than one being to have walked into the body throughout the lifetime, different events occurring. Just notice if they're different, if they don't remember conversation they've had with you, and they're all of a sudden reacting differently than the other one did the last time you talked to them. So you can just ask for that other being you talked to show up. And you don't need to go around clearing people. It's totally fine. This is just information for you to have. For me, I was like, is it going to create greater if I clear this entity? And it was like, yes. Okay. So I did it. Having this information, when I look back in my life, like I'm a walk-in. Truth, am I a walk-in? Yeah. For myself, what I would notice is when I became more conscious of this, when there were situations that would come up in my life, there were certain trigger situations that would kind of trigger me to react in a way that was like, let's say, childish or immature. And I'm like, okay, so what, and it's just information like, is this me? No, what's going on? As you start to become more conscious in your life, you start to notice these events. And I'm like, okay, well, is there, and I had a class coming up with somebody else, another facilitator. So I got them to ask me questions around other beings in my body. And it was like, yeah. And I'm like, she's like, okay, well, would you like to clear them? And I'm like, yeah. Now you can clear them on your own, or somebody else can run the clearing for you. Oftentimes, we're not always ready to let them go because they're an energy that has been around us for maybe many years, and we're comfortable with them, and that's okay. However, when you want to start creating greater in your life, and that entity or that other being is not comfortable with that, it's going to create doubt, confusion. You're not going to have really a lot of clarity about awareness and choice. So that's what multiple beings in a body can create: confusion, unclarity, inability to choose, things like that. So it slows everything down, it stops you. So for me, I'm always demanding greater in my life. And I did sit with it for a couple weeks, and then I just ran the entity clearing on them. I thanked them for being with me in my life so far, creating this with me, and now it's time for you to go. I let that being know that it has another choice. It can embody again if it would desire to. Yeah. And, there's so much I'm so excited to facilitate this beginning class. There's so much other information out there. When you hear voices in your head, what if you're not crazy? What if you're aware of entities? Another thing is like the suicidal thoughts. So after I had my first son, Trace, I definitely had postpartum depression is what I would have called it, but I didn't have any tools yet. I didn't take any classes. So my son was probably about 4 years old before I took my first foundation class. When he was little, I ended up having to have an emergency C-section with him. So my body went through quite a traumatic experience. I was in labor for like 2 hours, ended in an emergency C-section. And I know that there was other beings that walked into my body during that period. I'm in the hospital. There's a lot of different energies around. When I came home, I was so depressed. I was like frustrated. Plus I was tired. Plus I was a new mom. And I wanted to die. Like living was not fun for me anymore. It took me, I really suffered with that for probably 3 to 4 years. And I kept like shaking myself out of it. Like, what's wrong with you, Catherine? You have this new beautiful baby. You have, your life, you have a husband, but there was these energies that kept keeping me stuck in this. And then, I didn't get it at the time, but my shaking myself out of it was kind of me asking for something different to show up. And what did show up was access consciousness. I stumbled across the tools, yada, 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 found information about demon energies. Thank you so much, Shannon. Mom, I will be having more classes in the future. Stumbled across the tools of access, found out about demon energies that invoke those suicidal thoughts when they attach to you. And I'm like, this is crazy, but I'm going to run this demon clearing because I heard about it and I'm going to see what it changes. So I ran that demon clearing for months. And yes, those thoughts did go away. Things started to change. I started to actually be able to have a sense of gratitude, joy, and happiness again. But there was a period of a couple of years where I couldn't find that. And I really get, looking back, that it was from that experience with my body. There was other energies that attached to me. So, and if I hadn't cleared them, would I have ever been able to get over it? Not likely, then people, you go to the doctor and then they medicate you, and which dulls your awareness even more and gets you more unpresent. So, interesting stuff, I know. If you would like to have more information about these classes, it's out there. There are facilitators that are doing online entity classes from around the world. You can go to talktotheentities.com and you can search up some classes. An intro class is about 2 hours. It's $75, and you get a lot of information out of it. And then you can choose more as you go. Even just buying the Talk to the Entities book will give you more information as well. What else is possible that's beyond what we could ever imagine? Anyway, that's my short, sweet coffee chit chat with you guys this morning. I am grateful for you joining me live. And to those of you watching this in the future, thank you. And if you got anything out of this and would like to share this video, that would be amazing. All right. Have an amazing rest of your day. Fun Friday. I wonder how much fun you can have today. And I will see you later. Bye-bye for now.